all the unique characters,
I do let him bang. Yeah, I'm a legend, man. I'm building my legacy.
all the stories and perspectives featured weekly.
I wasn't fully committed to that choke, and I kind of sunk into it, started squeezing tighter, and I kind of heard him gurgle a little bit. And I was like, oh.
And all the combat sports you could ask for in the best state in the U.S.
Like I said, Ohio versus the world. It's going to happen for sure. Watch out.
It'll be cool, man. I'm not worried about it. I'm going to show them why the Ohio MMA scene is, in my opinion, one of the best MMA scenes in the country.
This is Forged in OH.
I-O.
OH.
I-O.
OH.
I-O.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 76 of Forged in Ohio. My name is Jake Murren, and I'm the host of the podcast. Repeat guests have been a trend lately on Forged in Ohio, and that's going to continue today. But don't you worry, because my listenership and viewership looked a lot different from the last time this fighter joined me. It was for episode 5 of Forged in Ohio in late November 2022. He was a 6-1 amateur fighter at the time. He's since finished his amateur career with an 8-1 record and is now a 2-0 pro fighter. Representing Route 250 Martial Arts, it's the highly entertaining Hunter Watts. Thanks for coming on the show once again, Hunter, and welcome back to Forged in Ohio.
Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. I'm glad to come back on here. It's been a minute, and I'm happy I'm here.
Of course, man. I've run into you a few times in between, and I've told you each time that it's been a little long overdue, and I've been wanting to have you on. Happy to make do on that now. And so there has been, so much has happened since your last appearance on Forged in Ohio. And I want to start with your pro debut. Going 8-1 as an amateur, was the writing on the wall after your last amateur fight that you were turning pro?
I mean, the whole kind of thought was, yeah, that was the plan. It was come back after my loss, have a couple fights, have a fight, see where I'm still at. And then after I won that fight, after the comeback, it was like, all right, well, fuck it. Let's win the next one. Let's go pro, make it roll, see how it runs. And I mean, it's turned out pretty dang well for me so far.
Yeah, you got that right. Lots of amateur fighters are eager to turn pro. It looks like you were patient taking 9 amateur fights. How important was it for you to not rush that transition and wait for that perfect time?
Honestly, extremely. Like I've seen a few guys go pro too early, and it just kind of ruined their career and ruined their chances at making it any further than that. So like I made sure that I waited on Andrew Law say so. I waited for him to be like, you know what, man? Yeah, I think you're ready. Before I was like, okay, yeah, let's make that jump.
Was it difficult to stay patient, or did you do a good job of not looking too far ahead to a pro debut when you were still fighting as an amateur?
I mean, it's what every amateur fighter looks forward to, is going pro. Should be, in my mind, the goal of every amateur fighter is to make it to the pro level. But I mean, I got a little antsy just because I wanted to. But granted, I was smart enough to be like, you know what? I will wait until I'm told I'm ready, and then we'll make it.
You name dropped Andrew Law, your coach, of course, at Route 250, and I plan on asking you about him. So let's talk about him right now. What does he mean to you, not only as a coach, but I'm sure a mentor and a friend, and everything that he means to you in your life?
He's a great friend, a great coach, just a great person all around. That man has literally helped me build my fight career from the ground up. I would not be anywhere even close to where I am without his help. That man he means a lot to me and a lot to the team, and I'm really, really happy to be a part of what he's built.
What's it been like, too, as a student of his, to see him back in there in these last few months that he's returned to competition?
I love it. When I very, very first started, it was kind of on his little span before his long layoff. And I got to see a glimpse of what it was like training with him. I'm just going to tell you now, what I saw then compared to what I see now is a whole nother deal. Just seeing him train as a professional fighter and watching him be one of the top guys around, And then going to from my amateur level, just starting to now, I'm starting to creep up in that world. To now I get to train alongside him and do all these things with him. It's crazy.
What do those sparring sessions look between you two? Obviously, you're in the same weight class as welterweights. I'm sure, part of it is he's teaching you things, but also you mastering the game and showing him some things. What are those sparring sessions like between the two of you?
It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of learning, especially on my part. I mean, I still have a lot of things to learn. So just getting in the cage with him and then being able to at the same time push him to the point where we're both getting good work and it's both good rounds. So it's a lot of fun, and it doesn't gotta be like we're in there all out fighting and brawling. We're in there just trying to touch each other, working, moving, trying to just have a good time with it because that's what both of us love to do.
When it came to making your pro debut itself, it was a big stage at Cage Thunder 25 at the Canton Civic Center. What were the emotions like making the debut at such a big event?
I will admit I was extremely nervous. I have no idea why, but for whatever reason, I didn't have a good feeling about that fight. It wasn't anything specific other than just me being in my own head about everything going on. I'm like, oh crap, now this is my professional debut. It's a different world now. And really, it's not. It's not. You're still fighting. You're still doing the same thing. So like after being there, a lot of the pressure went away. But leading up to it, it was kind of crazy. It was a lot in my head. I was scared. I wasn't having second thoughts, but I'm like, man, this is something different.
Do you think that's the most stressed or anxious you've been prior to a fight?
No, I'm like that every fight. Every single fight, I'm a nervous wreck.
When does that go away for you, or when do you gain that confidence, or that that those feelings go away and you're actually in the moment in the fight?
Usually about the time when my warm-ups are ending and I'm about to walk out to get ready for my walkout, I can get my head settled, and at that point it's, you know what, who really cares what happened? I'm here to do what I love to do. I'm just here to fight. Forget everything else. Just go in there and just have a good time.
So I think it was the last time you joined me on the show, you talked about just blacking out during your first few amateur fights because you were kind of worried about it. You go in there and then all of a sudden your hand gets raised. Have you gotten a better job of being more in the moment, I guess, in the cage and maybe not blacking out as much during your fights themselves?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the more time I spent in the cage, the more and more aware of everything that happened. I became more aware of everything that happened. Excuse me. So, the especially now, like my last fight with Melvin, I can recount all 3 rounds pretty much to a T of what happened exactly, and being able to do that and being that clear minded the entire time adds a whole nother world to the entire game.
You fought Logan Thompson, who was also making his pro debut at Cage Thunder 25 for yours, but he was 5 years older than you. I know you were a little nervous prior to it, but how confident were you going in that you were going to get the win?
Honestly, it sounds kind of crazy. I'm never really confident in the win because you never really know what's gonna happen. I'm just confident in the fact that I'm gonna go in there and I'm gonna fight hard. I'm gonna give everything I can to win that fight. If his best it happens to be better than mine that day, tough luck. It is what it is. But I mean, it's all a fight. It's what I'm there for.
So it sounds like the confidence more so lies with the training and the preparation and I guess knowing that you did all you could to win the fight more than actually the result itself.
Very much so. I mean, me, my, and everybody at Route 250 in general, all of us work our butts off so much. We work hard day in, day out, in practice, out of practice. There's guys there a couple times a day. There's guys there 2-3 hours before practice starts, getting in their lifting and their conditioning before we even have practice for the night. So like we're all there to push each other. And I mean, to be able to just fall back on that training makes all the doubt go away. Like, look, I put in everything I can for this. There's nothing more I can do at this point to better myself. So let's just put my best out there and see what happens.
In the pro debut, I believe there were about 20 seconds left in the first round when you really started laying it on him with strikes. I'm not sure how much longer you would have had left in him if it wasn't the end of the round. In that moment, were you aware of how much time was left in the first round and that you were close to putting him away?
I knew both. I knew there was only a little bit of time left. I didn't know how much exactly, but I knew I was close to ending it. And it was just, you know what? Dump it now, because if you get it down now, great. If not, screw it. You got a second round. You're not that tired.
So the round ends, you go to your corner. How soon did you learn that the fight wouldn't go any longer and it was actually finished there?
It was after the break. Once my coaches left the corner, I look over and I see him, like, his coaches are still there. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Come on, let's go. It's time to start the next round. Come on, get out. And they're not leaving. And I just see him go, I can't, and put his head down. I'm like, no, you ain't doing this to me right now. There's no way. And then I'm like, well, cool, I win, right? I guess this is when I celebrate. Like, it was cool to win that way, but at the same time, I kind of wanted that finish. I wanted to fight more.
Well, it still counts as a finish toward your record. And I was going to ask you about the reaction. Like, it almost sounds like you were bummed at first because you wanted to fight more, but then the happiness kind of trickled in there because you were happy that you actually won the fight.
I was happy that I won. It was real cool. And I'm still happy I won. At that moment in time, I still had a lot of fight in me. I wanted to fight more. So I was like, let's do this. And after the fact, I'm like, you know what? Cool. It's over. It is what it is. It ended the way it did. I can't be upset about it. I mean, that's a good thing. I won. I got my hand raised. It's all that matters. It's the only reason I'm there.
If a second round did take place, how do you think it would have gone?
I'd have given it less than a minute. I was coming out hard, and there was going to be foot on the gas, driving through the floor. It didn't matter what happened. I was coming out and dumping it from the rip.
It's not every day that you see a fighter win their pro debut via retirement after the first round on Tapology. Is that something that you can at least take pride in?
Yeah, it's kind of cool, honestly. I mean, that's not something many people get. That's not something people go their whole pro career and never have. So, like, to get that on the first pro fight, I'm like, that's kind of cool. But I mean, I won. That's all that matters. It is what it is at this point.
I asked you about the emotions before the fight. What about the emotions after the pro debut win at the Kansas Civic Center on that big stage?
It was awesome. I mean, to be in such a big venue, have such a crowd, and be so close to home, have all my friends, all my family there, people from, the gym I work out in, people I do CrossFit with, people I just, that I go to the gym every day are coming up and watching this. So to have all of those people there and have that support from them and end up coming out with the win, it was really special. It was really cool.
Talking with Hunter Watt on Forged in Ohio. Let's talk about your win at Cage Thunder 26 over Melvin Awesome Harris. Watching the fight back, what comes to mind over and over again is how much you swarmed Melvin and limited what he was able to do in the fight, especially in the first two rounds. Was that the game plan coming into this one, just to swarm him and not let him do what he's best at?
I mean, that's just kind of how I fight in general, is heavy pressure, start from the go, and we don't stop until the bell rings. A really good defense, a really good offense helps a good defense. If I'm on top of you the entire time and I'm hitting you and I'm making it hard on you, it makes it really hard for that person to hit me or do anything to me. So be the first one to do something, and it makes it really hard for them to do anything.
Your teammate Brogan Endress has 2 wins over Melvin Harris in his career. How much did Brogan's experience of fighting Melvin help you in preparation?
It helped a good bit. He gave me an idea of like what his style was. But granted, I've trained with Melvin before in years past. We've had cross training between our gym and theirs. Like we've all traveled down there. They've all traveled up here. So like I've known him for a while. I've worked with him. I've sparred with him. So I kind of knew what his style was. Obviously, it would be improved from the time frame of when we sparred to when we fought. But I mean, watching him fight Brogan twice since then, watching him fight a few other people, I knew it was kind of the same kind of idea. Granted, skills are better, so it's going to be tougher. But so was I. So I mean, the pointers there helped a lot. And they gave me kind of an idea what to go off of, but the game plan is still the game plan.
Do you think from the time that you did cross train with Melvin, and I guess it kind of showed in the fight, but that you improved more than he did at that time to where you guys were in the fight?
I don't know about specifically that. I guess sort of, yeah, you could say it that kind of way, but at the same time, him and I in general just matched up well stylistically in my favor. I'm not short in the wind at all. Melvin's a tough dude. It's just when you catch somebody like me who has that high, heavy pressure, and you catch someone like Melvin who's a very, very good counter striker, if I'm on top of you just smushing your counters, it's going to be really, really hard for you to get them off. So it's just, hey, it works out well that this is exactly what I do and exactly what I like to do is going to work really well against this guy.
You mentioned his toughness. Were you surprised by how tough he was in the fight? It looked like there were some moments, maybe some positions where you could have gotten a finish, and maybe his toughness was the prevailing factor there.
Oh, 100%. I have never hit somebody so hard in my life. I caught him pretty good with a few shots, and I was like, oh, this is the one. And he just ate it. Damn, okay, that's props, man. Props.
What's your reaction in the fight when you land that shot and it doesn't get the job done, or you're like, man, what the hell else can I do? Or how do you not get discouraged by something like that in the middle of a fight?
The next one's it. It's always the next one.
It's always the next one.
It's always the next punch. It's always one more punch has got it. It's always the next one. The next submission, the next move, the next punch, the next kick, the next whatever. It's the next thing's got it.
You won the fight.
That one didn't work. Next one does.
Yeah, you got that right. You won the fight 29-28 on 3 judges' scorecards. What were some of the adjustments you were trying to make throughout the fight, and what advice were you getting from your corner between rounds 1 and 2?
So for the most part, especially between 1 and 2, the plan was just kind of stay the same. They're like, you're doing really well. Keep doing what you're doing and just smothering him. You get him on the wall, you beat him up, put him on the floor. It is what it is. Put him where you're comfortable. Do what you want to do.
I mentioned how impressive, the first 2 rounds were, and maybe the pace was just slightly slower or lower there in the 3rd round. It was your first time going the distance as a pro fighter with 5-minute rounds. What was that experience like, and how do you think the cardio held up?
So I've fought 15 minutes a couple times as an amateur, but they were 5 3-minute rounds as in title fights. I'll tell you now, 5 3-minute rounds versus 3 5-minute rounds, 2 totally different worlds. My cardio was good. I was pretty happy with it. I mean, there's some tweaks I want to make going into the next one, but overall, it was what I expected it to be. It was as tiring, as grueling, and as difficult as I thought.
Yeah, when you say it's 2 different worlds between, 5 3-minute rounds and 3 5-minute rounds, I'm assuming you're meaning that the 3 5-minute rounds is a whole new ball game and much tougher to get through.
Oh yeah. Oh, it's completely different because 3-minute round you get used to 5s. 3-minute rounds are nothing. 3-minute rounds go by so fast. I could do infinite 3-minute rounds at this point is what it feels like. So to jump to that extra 2 minutes, that's a long time, man.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, especially as a competitor in that cage. Like in that third round, against Melvin Harris, when there is 5 minutes on the clock, are you like, man, when is this round over? When there's, a minute or two left, and maybe as an amateur, you're expecting that round to already be over,
It is a lot excuse me. It is a lot different. But at the same time, you train that time difference. By the time that you're fighting as a pro, you've made the adjustment where, okay, I know what 5 minutes feels like. I can keep track of 5 minutes in the back of my head rough enough that I've got an idea within 30. So it's a lot more difficult to go fives, but it's one of those things is you've trained for it. It is what it is.
Overall, looking back at the performance, how happy are you with what you did at Cage Thunder 26?
I'm happy with it. I mean, I won. I got my hand raised. I did the things I wanted to do. Obviously, there's always something to go back and look at and improve and work on and do better at. And I've got those things, but I cannot be upset with the outcome of that at all.
For sure. Once again, this is Hunter Watt on Forged in Ohio. Last time you were on the show, you talked about how difficult striking is coming from your wrestling background. Since then, has it gotten easier for you?
Yeah, it's gotten better. It's gotten easier, and I've kind of found my own style in striking, and it's gotten to a point where I can start to flow the two together very well, and I can go back and forth, and I can go kind of basically do whatever I want to. I use my striking in terms of setting up the game I like to play.
How would you describe that style of striking that you've implemented into your own game?
Heavy pressure, and I attempt to make a lot of angles. Short, but angles.
And when you talk about setting up the rest of what you have to offer, I'm assuming it is that wrestling background and swarming him, getting him to the ground.
Yeah, if I can get my hands on you, I'm going to. The plan is, all right, how am I going to get a hold of this guy and beat him up there? Because whether it's on the wall of the cage, on the floor of the cage, it don't matter. That's just, once I got my hands on you, I know I got you.
When it comes to, learning and developing that striking pattern that you have now, is that aspect of always being able to learn new things, not only when it comes to striking, but to everything really, one of the most exciting parts of mixed martial arts for you?
Very much so. I mean, it's the joy of always knowing that there's something to be better at. There's never something that you can be like, you know what? I'm going to set that down. I'm good enough at that. I'm going to put that over here and I'm going to stop working on it. I'm going to work on something else. No, it's, hey, I'm starting to like, this is starting to work. But then you're like, oh crap, I'm missing this, and this. So I can't stop working on that. But like this back here is lacking. So let's bring that back up too. It's a constant of, hey, let's try to get every aspect of the game to the next level.
Yeah, I love that mentality and approach. At first, was it hard to have that mentality? Maybe being discouraged from all those other things that you have to learn, or once you master those things, then other things come around and you have to learn those as well.
I mean, personally, it was not so much discouraging as for me, it was just exciting. It was like, because I don't like to not know things. I don't like to not be good at things. So I want to go in and I want to learn as much as I can and get as good as I can. So the fact that there's always that next step here, it gives me an endless goal to chase. It gives me something that I can never truly finish, something I got to keep working towards. And it's one of those things like, yeah, I've got a goal, but I've got a goal that's almost unattainable. So it makes me want to try that much harder, and I can keep doing these things. It's never something I'm going to run out of. I've got this joy of doing this for the rest of my life.
Yeah, speaking of those goals, last time you were on the show, you said that you're at your best, not only physically, but mentally when you're staying active and working towards your goals. You're only an amateur fighter the last time you were on the show, so how have those goals changed now that you're a 2-0 pro?
I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Living out of this, I want to do this as long as I can, and I want to be the best at it. I mean, I don't see that changing anytime soon. I'm just gonna stick around and keep doing this until it happens, or I don't exist anymore, one or the other.
The impressive start to your pro career, what does that do in terms of the confidence in your ability to actually achieve those goals?
I mean, it's nice to see that things are working out well in my favor, but I know it's not going to come without a challenge. It's not going to be easy. There's going to be bumps in the road. There's going to be failures. There's going to be challenges that I am going to struggle with. But it's worked out well so far. So, I mean, just keep following the recipe and hopefully it keeps going the way it does.
So do you allow yourself to stop and take pride in what you've done becoming a 2-0 pro fighter, or are you constantly looking for that next challenge, what's next, and improving from where you are now?
I will take a second and acknowledge the fact that, hey, there are not a lot of people that have done or can do what I do. But I don't want to be one of the few, like the few people to do it. I want to be one of the couple that, hey, they went all the way. They did it. This is them. I want to be one of those people. So I'm not quite satisfied being one of the, the few guys that, hey, he did really, really well or this or that. I want people to look back and be like, that guy, no, that was the guy. He was the toughest dude out there.
Yeah, and you've done a good job of starting that, legacy that you're leaving here in the state of Ohio. A lot can change when you turn pro. You not only get paid, but there are no longer same-day weigh-ins. There are more weapons at your disposal. You showed some great elbows in your 2 pro fights. So how much more dangerous are you now that you aren't restricted with what you're able to do in the cage?
I mean, I like to say I'm a little bit more dangerous just because someone like me I do like that close, dirty boxing, elbows, knees kind of game anyways. And a lot of that's semi-difficult to implement as an amateur just because of the rule set. Not that I'm complaining about it. I was very happy with the rule set when I first started fighting. I like where it is. It's just now as a pro having the freedom to do these things, it opens up a lot of things to me that I was, I guess, kind of missing in my game. Like, hey, now you have these options. Let's capitalize on these things.
I know you like to train and even do some CrossFit when you don't have a fight booked. Has life changed in terms of your routine and training regimen now that you are, a pro athlete?
Training's gone up a little bit. I spend a little bit more time in the gym. I didn't think I could, but I figured out a way to. Other than that, I mean, no, it's still kind of the same thing. I work, I go to the gym, and that's about it.
How often would you say you're at the gym?
Generally, my schedule is I am at the gym 8 times in a week. Once a day and twice on Saturday.
Once a day, twice on Saturday. Is it hard not to get burnout from that type of schedule?
Kind of, sort of, but I also like to mix it up. There's 2 different gyms I work out at. So during the week, Monday through Thursday, I'm down at Route 250. I'm doing my CrossFit there. I do my martial arts. Saturday morning, I go do wrestling and sparring practice in the morning. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday evenings, usually I go up to Canton and work out at a gym called Powerhouse. Because, I mean, I also work at a bar as a bouncer. And it's fun to go to the gym, get a little bit of a pump, so I at least feel a little big when I have to go look semi-intimidating in front of people. Because let's be honest, I'm not a scary looking dude at all. I'm a hippie. I got long hair and a beard, and I just kind of hang out. So to go to the gym, get a little bit of a pump going, feel a little big myself. All right, now I can be a little bit intimidating.
I'm sure you're full of crazy stories from your job. What's the craziest one while being a bouncer?
Oh, dude, I couldn't even tell you. There's so many. There's so many different things that have happened, and it depends on the night. Sometimes there's people trying to fight you. Sometimes there's just people pulling out the private parts in the parking lot. It's crazy.
Interesting. Have you ever had to use your your mixed martial arts background at the job?
Not really. Honestly, the biggest thing has just been kind of, hey, grab a dude by the chest. We're walking outside now, and then just guide him to the door. I don't know how, granted, especially being the size I am and some of the people that I have had to interact with, the martial arts have come into handy because it's taught me how to move somebody. And some of these people are not little, but it is not a direct that I'm going in there and I'm throwing people or nothing.
Well, that's good. Have you, since you are now 2-0 as a pro, I know you're coming off that win just a few weeks ago, have you thought about when you'd like to get back in there for your third pro fight?
Yeah, I've had some feelers out there and we're looking around. I got some matchmakers posting some things. I've had some offers thrown at me. See how it kind of goes, see what comes about. I mean, Andrew sets up, he okays and approves everything. But like, he'll come to me and ask me if I'm cool with it, but it goes through him first.
After it goes through that clearance from Andrew, when it goes to you, is it almost 100% a yes at that point?
And every time I'll fight anybody, I don't really care.
So what kind of timetable are you looking at right now?
I'm thinking I'll probably fight again in August.
Fight again in August. So, August and then December. How many more times do you think you'll fight this year in 2024?
I mean, I'll probably fight again 2, maybe 3 more times, depending on.
All right. Well, I want to ask you this one, last one for you. One of the funniest moments in Forged in Ohio history, in my opinion, was when you talked about having stare downs with yourself in the mirror and beating yourself in the stare down. Any stare downs recently that you'd like to talk about?
I mean, not really. I still do that before every fight. I get in the fight camp, like as soon as fight camp starts, that's a nightly routine. Is, hey, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to practice this. So, I mean, same kind of deal it's always been.
Before we wrap up, anything you want to shout out here at the back end of the show?
Not particularly. I just mean I'd like to thank all my guys at the gym that I train with every day. Route 250 is a great gym. Anyone who's looking into wanting to try something like this, getting into fighting, getting into MMA, maybe even just training to train, come on down, give it a look, give it a try. It's a lot of fun. It's a room full of great people. You'll never regret it.
All right. Well, thanks again, Hunter, for coming back on the show. It's wild to think back to where this show was the first time you joined me. And 71 episodes later, this was long overdue for me to have you back on the show. You might remember how I like to end these chats on the show. It's with the OHIO chant. So, OH.
IO.
Thanks, Hunter. It's been incredible to see you grow in your fights. I hope that continues for you. And I can't wait to see you back in there, man.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You have a good one.
That was Hunter Watt, the 2-0 pro mixed martial artist and the 10th ranked pro fighter out of Ohio. Route 250 has a 4-pack of pro welterweight fighters that have been incredible to watch. Hunter's building his already impressive game there at that gym, and after every fight, with every win that he gets, you have to become more confident in what this man can achieve. Plus, he's been really active, which is just what you want to see out of a young, exciting pro fighter. I asked you all to help me get to 800 followers on Instagram last week, and thanks to all of you, we hit that milestone. I'm really appreciative, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that I'd love to see 1,000 plus followers on the account. Of course, you can find the show on Instagram and Facebook at Forged in Ohio. And to support the show directly, you can download episodes on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe to the Forged in Ohio YouTube channel. Both are completely free to you. Thanks again for watching or tuning in. I've been your host, Jake Murren, and this was Forged in Ohio.